I have to tell somebody what's happening to me. Oh god, I don't know what to do. I want to tell my friends, but they're not my friends anymore, and I know it's nearly Halloween. Bugger that. I don't care how stupid it sounds. It happened. It started out fine a few days ago. My friends and I had a late lecture. It ended about 7, and it starts getting dark at around 7. It is October after all. We were doing this thing just for a laugh. We decided to wear our costumes to the lecture. It was the last lecture all have together before the big night, and well, there's no rules against wearing a costume to the unit lectures, so that's what we did. Colin came as a zombie with a blackened eye socket and peeling skin. Katie was a vampire pirate, and I put together a fortune teller's costume out of all my sister's old clothes. They're pretty flimsy though, and why am I telling you what we were dressed as? It's barely important. Oh no, wait. Yes, it is important. Hang on. So anyway, the lecture went well. We had a laugh, and afterwards we decided to go to the pub together. We don't have our varsity pub anymore, so we decided to go to the Hogs instead. It's mostly frequented by scowling old men. We tried to get a seat far away from everyone as possible. The trouble was, it was crowded, and we didn't have our usual seats. It was nearly impossible to get to the bar because, again, the place was just full of old men. I wasn't having a good time, and my flimsy costume started to make me feel self-conscious. I told Katie and Colin I'd like to walk back, thinking we could walk together, seeing as I share a house with them. But they fancied staying up for a bit longer because they could get cheap drinks about after 9 p.m., so I said rather walk back alone. Fine, Katie said. She didn't have to tell me to stick by the roads. It was a rule everybody knew. If one of us was walking home alone, we'd have to stick to the roads. Unbeknownst to them, however, when I walked alone, I took a shortcut through the underpass. Yes, it was a stupid risk, and a lot of people had been there in the past, but I don't know. I never felt unsafe doing it. Actually, nobody had been attacked there for a whole year since they put up those mirrors at either end. So, I left the Hog's Head and started walking. The temperature had dropped by several degrees, and there was a wind starting to kick up. I tried to ignore how cold was and sang under my breath as I walked. Did things make you feel more likely to be attacked or less likely? I didn't know. Turning the corner, I suddenly realized I left my coat at the pub. No wonder I was so cold. I must not have noticed because of the costume. I don't know. It was warm enough in the pub, but not out here. I didn't go back to my coat though. Either Colin or Katie would bring it back for me. Then I went down the stairs and reached the underpass. That's when things started to get strange. The thing about the underpass is that it was nearly always full of litter and broken bottles, but it's well lit and for the most part free from graffiti. I think that it has something to do with the coating on the walls. Somewhat clean laminated stuff to discourage vandals. The last graffiti I'd seen was an arrow pointing to the floor with the legendary "Park Here." A surprising amount of homeless people had taken it to sit in that spot. But eventually, someone had had a field day with their Halloween orange glitter hair and body spray, because the walls were covered in it. All over the underpass were the words, Cuosp, Humanya. I didn't recognize the language, but something about it made me uneasy. I looked behind the mirror, nobody on the stairs. I turned back and gazed down the length of the underpass, no one in front of me. Suddenly, the urge struck me to round the wall. I've always wanted to do that, to face something, even in a small way, but I've never been brave enough. I was always too scared to get getting caught. But tonight, there was nobody here to catch me, and the wall was so covered in graffiti now that one little scrawling for me, wouldn't make any difference. I took a big black marker pen from my unit bag and wondered what to write. It was funny. I couldn't think of a single thing. Ritual was here, maybe. Finally made my mark. Cuosp, Humanya. I looked and I looked at it through the fog of my own breath. That'd do. I was feeling quite pleased with myself for being so rebellious. I was even feeling warmer. As I put the pen back in my bag, I frowned. Actually, that was much warmer. Was it because I was under the pass? It was sort of underground. Oh god. I'm sorry. I know I said I'd tell someone about this, but just remembering it makes me feel so horrible. I started getting really hot. I mean, boiling, sweltering, terrier of hot. Remember, I was remember I was in a flimsy, thin fortune teller's costume, and it was October. It was basically nighttime. The sun had certainly gone away, so I stood there sweating like crazy, trying to figure out where this heat was coming from. Even the breeze that blew up, no, no, it was more warm. It was more like warm breath than. Oh god. That's when I saw him. A guy appeared at the end of the subway. The end I would have been walking towards. He was just like a homeless man. Bundles of layers, woolen layers, fingerless gloves. I could see the tips of his fingers were stained, made from rolling cigarette. But he didn't have the bag, and he wasn't wearing anything on his head. What I could see of his head was horrible. He had been in the face. No, not in the face, in the head. When he turned around, and around on that spot, I could see the knife had gone right through, and his long hair was shining and wet from the blood. He turned around once, slowly, so I could see it, and then he just kept spinning and spinning with his long hair flying out. His face was stained just like his fingers. I ran back the other way. There was a scream stuck in my throat as I hurtled up the stairs. The heat intensified. I'm confused by my own pounding footsteps or footsteps behind me, and the scream finally found its way out. I stumbled up the last stair and checked behind me. He wasn't there, but I still kept running. I went across the main road that the underpass nestled beneath, barely noticing the honking cars. I tripped over my skirt and fell, tasted metal, then got back up and ran with my stupid bag thumping against my legs. By the time I reached the supermarket by my house, I had to catch my breath, so I stopped and took great heavy gasps. It was cold again. Oh god. I was so glad for a chilly night. I was so glad I'd gotten away. For about an hour, I ate in the supermarket pretending to browse the crisp aisle. Eventually, I did buy something, thinking that the danger must have passed. In that hour, I partially convinced myself that it had been some sort of Halloween prank or weird hallucination, but that didn't stop me ordering a taxi for the short journey to my door. I thanked the driver, tipped him double, and let myself in. I still had my key, then pressed that and dropped it. Inside the house, it was warm and homely and smelling of soup. It was so wonderful to be inside. I almost wept. Colin and Kate weren't back yet, so I put on the TV and waited. They were not going to believe what I had to tell them, but they were outrageous. It was nearly midnight when the front door finally clicked and opened. I was smiling up to say hello. I froze. There he was, standing in the hallway, the torn, stained face, the wet hair. I screamed out loud. Whoa, he said, smiling at me. I saw Rose and Nessie teeth. Sorry, I should have shouted to you. You left your coat at the pub. He was holding my coat, and now he chuckled it to me. I didn't catch it. My hands were covering my mouth. What's the matter? Colin said. Kate stood behind him, a look of concern molding her torn skin. I don't know what to do. I haven't been downstairs since I came back. I haven't eaten, I haven't even changed out of my costume, but I'm starting to realize what's happened. When I go online and watch a video, they all have that face. When I look at my friends' profiles on Facebook, they all have that face. The Cuosp Humanya face. We're closing in our season finale, guys. So one so my season finale is going to be tomorrow night. Halloween. And I hope I've saved the spookiest for last. Subscribe and tune in for the season finale. I'll see you next time. Bye.